What is going on, miners, and welcome back to the Hobbyist Miner channel. Well, today we're here to talk about this guy. So this one has been my workhorse and has ran phenomenally for ever since we built it, actually. I don't remember, maybe a few months back. If you guys aren't familiar, this is an R9 380 with a few 380Xs in here, which are AMD cards. They're 4 gig cards, and they've been mining Ethereum Classic non-stop. A few weeks ago, I actually went and stripped all these cards down and cleaned them and did new thermal paste and new thermal pads and all of them. This rig, to give you a quick heads up, is running an HP motherboard with I got the entire HP tower for $50. The motherboard, CPU, heatsink, memory, I pulled all out of it, and it's all running. You know, I think it's got like a Pentium in it or something, but it's perfect. We do have a 1200 watt power supply in this rig, with a breakout board back in here, powering our cards and our risers. And then right over here, which this is overkill, but I had these available, 750 watt Aries Game bronze power supply powering the motherboard. Outside of that, it has 2 PCI slots on it. So we installed 2 of the PCI 1 to 4 adapters. And other than that, that's really it. So this thing has been a beast. It's just been running non-stop, running Ethereum Classic. I've had 0 to no issues with it at all. The reason I actually replaced the thermal paste and the pads was because once I moved in this mining room, a lot of these cards were starting to run really warm. Now they run just fine. So then all of a sudden today, I started noticing that the rig, I found that the rig was off. At least the miner or the and HIVEOS was off. So I went ahead and powered it all off, powered it all back on. It was up for maybe 30 seconds. It mines for a second, and then the miner or the entire rig isn't available, and I can't access it. So I thought, hey, let's go ahead and troubleshoot this together and take a look and see if we can figure this out on HIVEOS together. And hey, if I learn something here, maybe you guys can learn too at the same time to avoid the issue in the future. So let's go ahead. We're going to power this off, jump over to the PC, and see what's happening over on HIVEOS when we power it back on. Okay, so the rig is off right now, so we're going to go ahead and power on the HP power supply first. That goes ahead and gives power to all the risers and also the cards. We're then going to go ahead and flip the switch on our power supply, or ATX power supply, and then finally we're going to go ahead and hit the power button. We strip that out of an HP tower, and now let's head back to the computer and let's see what we get. Okay, so we are over on the computer right now. This is our Pixie rig running Team Red Miner with Ethereum Classic with our R9 380s. So if I refresh here, okay, you can see it booted a few seconds ago. Okay, we'll give it a minute here, see what happens. In the meantime, let's go ahead and boot up Hive Shell to see what's happening on the miner side of things. In the meantime, taking note, there is an update for HIVEOS. I feel like there's been a lot of updates for HIVEOS recently, and I feel like the updates just aren't tested as much as they should, because I'm wondering if this update, because I did an update, I feel like yesterday or something like that, sometime recently, and I'm wondering if that's part of my issue, honestly. So that's not really loading it here. Okay, uptime still hasn't come up yet. Let's go try to get that Hive Shell. In the meantime, let's see if I can ping that IP address at the bottom. Okay, so the IP address of the rig isn't even reachable now. So it was up and then it's down. And I think this is kind of the commonality that we're running into. Yeah, this isn't going to load the Hive Shell. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do to troubleshoot this, guys, is I'm going to come up here to the wrench, and I'm going to come down to maintenance mode, and I'm going to say with load. So the next time it loads, it's going to boot without loading the drivers. Okay, so I want to see first, I'm kind of going to do step by step, like, does it boot without drivers? Does it boot with drivers? Does it boot without a flight sheet? You know, things like that. So let's go ahead and unset the flight sheet, and we have it set in maintenance mode right now. And let me cruise over. Yeah, it says it's offline right there. Let me go power off the machine and then power it back on. Alrighty, so we're up and running. We have no flight sheet. the drivers aren't running at all because we're in maintenance mode without drivers. And as you guys can see, look how wonky some of this looks like. Does not look the same at all. So we know we're going to give it a minute, but I'm confident now that the rig will load with no drivers. So I think the next step is to now load the rig with drivers and see if it stays up and running. Because right now it looks good. Can I hit that IP address now? This is the IP of the rig. It says at the bottom, locally, just your local IP. Okay, yeah, so that is up and running. Okay, so that's good. So now I'm going to go ahead and reboot it, but I'm going to change this over to load with drivers. Okay, so let's go ahead, and now we can do this right in the GUI, which is nice versus having to physically go do it. Let's come up here and do a reboot. So we'll give it a second and we'll see if this loads HIVEOS with the drivers now. Okay, so we are still in maintenance mode and we have drivers enabled. Load with drivers, and you can see here, enable maintenance mode, don't start the miner, and watchdog on boot. So it's up and working with the drivers. So we know this isn't driver related with this crashing problem. We've got some good stability here on our pings. So my next thing to do is, which normally happens, when you load up a HIVEOS, it loads the OS, it loads the drivers, and then it loads the flight sheet, and then it starts the miner. So in this situation here, our next thing to do is to load the flight sheet at this point. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to have it start the miner without I'm going to have it reboot with maintenance mode turned off. So maintenance mode is off. We have no flight sheet, and we're going to go ahead and reboot another time and make sure that it loads the OS, it loads the drivers, and then it's waiting for my flight sheet. So let's test this and see if this works now. Okay, so I'm happy to report that our rig is rebooted, no problem. Maintenance mode's off, so it's still stable and still working with maintenance mode off. We know that the OS loads. We know that the drivers, the AMD drivers, are loading. What hasn't been applied yet is the flight sheet. So I'm guessing that when I apply this flight sheet, then it kicks off the miner, and that's where my issue lies. So if I come into flight sheet, we're up right now. Okay, 4 minutes, flight sheet, and there's nothing special about this flight sheet. It's literally a Team Red Miner flight sheet. We're going to go ahead and apply this. And what we'll do is, I'm eager to see, does this stay up and running? So let's see what happens here. So our pings are looking good. Our flight sheet is applying. Oh, look at this. Is it really literal? Yeah, look at that. As soon as we apply a flight sheet, the rig crashes. This is crazy. Yeah, that's what it is. Look, the flight sheet's in place, and now the rig isn't available. Wow. I'm just going to refresh. Oh, yeah, it's time. It says timed out and everything. So that's where our issue is. So my next thought would be is let's blow away the flight sheet. So let's unset the flight sheet, and we're just gonna we're gonna blow this away. There's nothing special about it. And let's create a new flight sheet, and we'll even use a different miner. So new flight sheet, new miner, etc. There's our wallet, Hive on. You got it. Do you see this new feature, by the way, guys? So when you're coming in here to select your pools, if you come out to this drop down box, select what rig, it will go ahead and tell you your latency to each of the pools, so that you guys actually make sure that you pick the right one, because your latency is critical when it comes down to that communication with the pool, avoiding invalid shares. It's super important there. So this takes a minute. We'll let it run through. In the meantime, I guess I should wait to go ahead and power up the machine. But we'll give it a quick minute here, and we'll be back in a second. Okay, guys. So I went ahead and finished creating that flight sheet. As you guys can see, it's right here. Ethereum Classic, Hive on pool. I'm actually using LOL miner now versus Team Red miner. Nothing special. I did nothing in the configuration in here at all. Nothing unique, nothing different. So my next step is I'm going to go ahead and power on the rig. Once the rig is fully powered up, then we'll go ahead and apply this additional flight sheet. Okay, so the rig is in the process of powering up now. So we'll give it a quick minute here. And we should see it come up pretty quick. Once it's up, we'll give it a minute or so, and then we'll apply this flight sheet that we just created with LOL miner, because then that rules out like one miner versus another. That rules out the flight sheet. You know, that kind of does our due diligence. And I think after we've applied the flight sheet, the only other thing I could think about was hooking a monitor up to it just to see like what's happening on the screen. The other thing I thought about was downgrading HIVEOS to a previous version. Okay, so we're getting active pings here. So we know that this rig is in the process of coming back up. Okay, so while we wait for it to fully come up, I started to look at the HIVEOS kind of upgrade path recently and take a look. So today, or tomorrow actually, the 19th, they're rolling out a fix here. 8.19. 8.18 today, there was a Linux up. There's a Linux, another update. 2 updates went out today, and then one on the... Jeez, they're pushing out updates like every other day here. This is crazy. So I might roll back, if I need to, if the flight sheet solution doesn't work, to this one. Back to July. Because it ran fine. So I might run back, go back to 0.6-206, and then that's 210723. So I'll keep that here as a note. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and apply our flight sheet. This is for LOL miner. It's applying right now. Applying. I'm keeping an eye on our pings. Okay, so it applied. All right. It says it applied. I'm looking at our pings. I'm looking at it. Nope, there it is. Look at that. Request timed out. So it crashed again. So my next thought is I am going to unset the flight sheet, and we're going to downgrade it. Let's get it up and running first. So let me walk over, power it off, power it back on, and then we'll take a look at downgrading this HIVEOS version together. All right, looks like the Pixie rig is coming back up and running. We can see we have some active pings going on there, which is good. Okay, so our next step is to look at downgrading this. So if we come up here, let me just expand that window. So in here you can click, there's actually an upgrade available. I'm tempted not even to go that far. So I'm actually going to look at going back. So we talked about going to 2110.723. So 2110.723. Is that even 2110? It's not even in this list. Yeah, you can't even go back to that. There's 21, or let's see, 210.815. 210.815. That's this one. Okay. Then there's 5, then 7, and then 721. What's 721? Wow, it skips all these. 721 is actually farther back. Yeah, it's right here. So this goes back to July 21st. Okay. So we're going to try that one. Oh, wow, that went even farther. Jeez. Okay, here we go. 210.721. Okay, we're going to go with this one. Features removed. That's fine. We're going to downgrade. So we're going to downgrade this. So let's downgrade it. And then after it comes back up from the downgrade, we're going to try to apply that flight sheet and see how we make out. So I don't know if that worked because let's see here. We went to 210.721, okay? Which is right up here. 210.721. But on here, it's saying we're at 205, 210.80. Okay, so we're on 205. Okay, so it must be two different things here. 0.6 205, which that matches here. But then it says 210.819. So I'm not sure where that falls in here, but let's go ahead and try the flight sheet now and see how we make out. Ugh, are you kidding me? That was like instant. It says timed out. Yeah, look at that. That's instant. As soon as you apply the flight sheet. Oh, no. There we go. Okay. It recovered. So no, that one. Oh, let's see what happens here. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why those request timeout are occurring. Oh, okay. So AMD overclock settings failed. That's interesting. These aren't anything special. Okay, but the rig is still up, so that's a victory. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to reboot it again. I've had issues before when I've seen this, not with this rig specifically, but just in general with AMD OC failed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reboot the rig, and let's see where we end up with a fresh reboot, forcing the flight sheet to start with the rig. Okay, so something's really strange with this rig. Look at it. You can see, like, I rebooted it. It has a flight sheet applied. I was excited to see it start mining. But every few seconds, it actually has a request timed out. And then it has a really high ping. And then it comes back. I guess this is why I'm not seeing it start to mine. And okay, so Hive Shell is coming up now. But it, like, crashes. You look at that. There's a timeout, and I can't type in here. So, like, something is going on. It's like it's losing network connection. So, my first thought is I'm going to swap the port on the switch. I'm also going to swap the Ethernet cable. And we'll check back to see if this problem continues or not. So, I'll be back here, guys, in just a minute. And hopefully we have some success. Man, just when I think I figure it out. So I tried different Ethernet cable. I tried a different port. So my next two guesses are, I'm going to put HIVEOS on a solid state drive. Maybe the solid state drive is shot or there's a problem with it. Then the last thing I'll do is actually swap out the motherboard. I do have a spare HP motherboard available, so I can always swap that out if need be. But my next step is to take a brand new solid state drive and throw on HIVEOS on that and see what happens. So it's going to take me a few, but we'll check back in a minute. Alrighty, guys. So our new rig is up and running, Iceman. We went ahead and named that off of an X-Men. And I went ahead and added in the overclock settings that we were using on the other rig, the Pixie rig. This is a brand new solid state drive that this is actually the, believe it or not, GPUrisers.com has solid state drive. And this is a 64 gigabyte drive. They actually sent it to me, so shout outs and thank you to them. I'll put a discount code down below, guys, in the description if you're interested. So our next step, we're getting solid rolling ping here, is we're going to apply the flight sheet. So this is where we had issues on our last rig, the Pixie rig. We've pretty much isolated everything down. Now our hope is that when we apply this flight sheet, that we don't get any drop packets and that the rig doesn't crash. All right, we're applying the flight sheet here. This is the flight sheet of Iceman. It's Ethereum Classic, and it's running Team Red Miner. So the flight sheet applied, which is awesome. Perfect. We still have very solid pings here, which is totally different than what we had before. Let's load up Hive Shell. And Hive Shell is looking good so far, enabling SSL. Uh-oh. Oh, okay, there we go. I'm just waiting to see what happens. It hasn't crashed yet, so this is like, this is good. This is a good step versus where we were before. Hey! Okay, it not quite mining yet. We're almost there. We got no hash rate. We got zeros across the board. Let's give her a second. What are you gonna do for me? Come on. Start mining. Come on! If this doesn't work, my next step is, I guess, the motherboard. I mean, because I feel like we've done our due diligence across the board. All right, that's good. Share accepted. So the miner's working. Now, oh, fantastic. So the cards are starting to work. Okay, so this is just a little tiny hash rate. It should start to ramp up here. All right, there it is. Check it out. We're definitely start mining. Looking good. Let's refresh here. That one card looked like it was at 15, which is really surprising. It should be 18 to 20. Got to make sure that's Hynix, right? Let's make sure that we didn't mess that up here. Yeah, everything looks good. So we'll have to tweak that, see what's going on. But that was it, guys. The solid state drive. So, you know, we talk about like USB drives going bad and you know, not being meant for long term, the amount of read writes. Look at this. Solid state drive was going bad, and swapping it out did the trick, which is fantastic. We are back up and mining on our R9 380 rig. Definitely gonna have to take a closer look at what's going on with this one R9, but we'll take this victory. Anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video of me just kind of hanging out troubleshooting this problem. I'm glad we were able to go ahead and overcome it with replacing the solid state drive. If you guys enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And finally, don't forget to subscribe. Take care.